Afternoon, Jeff family. I hope you guys are all well. I'm Coach Jenna. Today we're going to be chatting about the difference between beginner, intermediate, and advanced training. You can just swipe in and let me know when you're here. I'm just going to wait a little bit for a few more people to join. And if you have any questions or anything so long, please start popping them into the comments. You can see people are slowly starting to come in. Just trying to find myself on my other phone. See people trickling in. You can let me know that you're here. Just pop a comment in and say hello. Be good to see who's here. Okay, I think we'll just wait 1 more minute and then we will get going. Excuse me, sorry. Hi, Gabby. Hope you're well today. Thanks for joining. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Elaine. And Chessa. Chantal. Cool. Glad that everyone's starting to pop in. Hi, Melanie. Okay. Gonna get started. So yeah, today is just a bit of not too much of a deep dive into what would constitute a beginner, intermediate, or advanced kind of athlete or Jeffer, as we're going to be talking more about the Jeff program today. And then just we'll go into a little bit of like the physiological adaptations that would happen at each level, but most importantly, just focusing kind of on where to start. What you need to accomplish before you can kind of progress between the different levels. So any level is determined kind of by your experience and your knowledge. So experience would be, have you exercised before? Is this a new type of exercise? So say, for example, you come from a cycling or a running background. Your body, not running, swimming, sorry. Your body isn't used to impact. So coming into a jet style program where there's a lot of high impact stuff and even the low impact, it would be a completely different type of exercise for your body. So you would be a beginner coming into this type of training, whereas you might be an intermediate swimmer or cyclist. And then the knowledge is actually what you do know about different types of exercises. So in terms of Jeff, like, do you have the knowledge of what each exercise actually is? So do you know what a burpee is? Do you know what a jackknife is? Do you have the knowledge to actually perform the exercise properly? So I know that seems quite weird because we always just think knowledge comes into maybe like our working environment or our knowledge of maybe how to drive, but it would also determine actually where you would start with an exercise program. And so basically knowledge and experience is just a simple way of putting it. Okay. And then also you would look at how consistent you've been over like previous exercise kind of attempts or periods. So if you've been consistent with HIIT style training, weight training, lit, running, walking, so consistent over 3 to 6 months, then you'd probably be more of an intermediate than a beginner. If you haven't been consistent, if you've kind of been doing one session here, one session there, a run once a month, a swim every now and again, you'd be a beginner because there's no consistency. And then the consistency really, really is important for the adaptations that our body needs to go under, which I will go into a little bit more detail a bit later. Okay. So if we start at the wrong level, we're not going to progress properly and you're not going to get the best results. So that's always why we talk about just following the process and that being very consistent. Because you can't kind of do like 1 week here, have 2 weeks off, jump in again, be consistent for 3 weeks, then have this break. It just breaks up any progress that you're going to make, and you kind of just stay stuck in that starting block and you never move, which then creates a bit of frustration. And then also, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. So don't listen when someone tells you that you should be here or you should be there or you should start here. Everyone has very different considerations that they need to take into account when they look at starting. And this is what's absolutely great with Jeff, is that there's so many coaches which can help you determine where to start and when. And then also you need to know your body. You need to know what exercises it's comfortable performing, where you currently are, and what type of workout style you may be comfortable with. So using myself as an example, I come from a very big hockey and running background. So I wasn't particularly comfortable starting HIIT workouts when I first came onto the program as a client last year. So I mean, I started at maybe a more intermediate level, whereas I could probably be classified as an advanced like hockey player and runner. But I mean, your body adapts, and then you can obviously move through the levels. So don't be too hard on yourself when you start off. If you're completely new to interval training, your body does get used to it and you become more comfortable from it. So it doesn't mean that it's not the right type of exercise for you. You're just not used to it yet. And then, and then once you're ready to start progressing, I will go into the different levels in more detail now. But we'll look at changing the frequency, the intensity, the amount of time that you do exercise, and also the type. So for those of you that are on the one-on-one program, I'm sure you notice quite quickly when you go from 30 seconds on and off to 40 seconds. So that's increasing the intensity. Then you might also start adding more actual sessions into your workouts. So there's absolutely no problem if you start off only doing 3 sessions out of the 5 for the week, or if you manage 2 sessions for the first 2 weeks and then you add in 3. There's absolutely no problem with that. You're starting with where your body is at and where you're comfortable, and you're slowly adding on. And then time would be that maybe this week you can only actually do 20 minutes of a session, and then you're starting to build up to actually getting in like 45 minutes. So it's just also, again, start where you're comfortable and slowly progress. Don't try to jump from 0 to hero. Your body's not going to like it. It's going to kick back. You're going to get injured and sick, which I will go into a little bit later. And it's also just really rewarding when you go through all the steps and blocks that you should be, because you notice quite clearly within yourself the differences that are happening in your cardiovascular strength, your actual strength. So maybe you can do more burpees, you do more squats, you're not that stiff the next day. And then all these principles can actually be applied to your eating as well. If you come, when you start off on an eating plan or wanting to learn to be more healthy, you don't get everything right straight away. So that's also a bit of habit, but you're also learning as you go along. So you can also think of your eating in terms of that, like that you might become an advanced healthy eater at some stage, which I know also sounds really funny, but it's like with anything in life, we've got to start off somewhere and we progress, and that's exactly the same with exercise. Okay, so for a beginner, you're either brand new to exercise, which is awesome that you've now made this huge change in your life and decided to start becoming healthier and fitter and stronger. Or, as I said at the start of this, it's either a new type of exercise. So you coming from maybe a very low impact base of exercise, so like Pilates, you've been swimming or cycling a lot, to more impact based stuff. So you wanted to maybe start running, or you're getting more involved in the high impact sessions that we offer. And then it can also be that you've maybe moved from just general gymming to now maybe wanting to do more actual weightlifting. It is a different type of exercise and requires different considerations. So you would go to a beginner block. Okay. And then also the consistency that you've had. So here at Jeff, on the one-on-one program, we tend to look at your past 3 months to determine where to start you. And I mean, for those that are on their own exercise journey or not on the one-on-one, I would suggest that you look at your last 3 to 6 months of how consistent you've been with general exercise and what type of exercises. Okay. You can look at the beginner phase as like your foundation phase. So again, with anything in life that you're learning new, you've got to start somewhere. So this is where you actually start to learn about the different types of exercises. So whether it's core-based, arm, legs, high impact, low impact, interval training, Pilates, or like yoga, because it's a new experience for your body and your mind when you enter into these things. So you're actually developing neural changes within your physiology as well as muscular changes. And what for me is the most important part of this beginner phase and sets you up for moving into intermediate or even to an advanced stage of exercise is the habits and the techniques that you form. So we talk a lot about habits at Jeff because it's very important for us to progress in life is to have good habits. And then also just the techniques that you learn. That's why the instructors are always telling you the correct way to do an exercise. That's just so you get the most benefit and that you're less likely to get injured. So the same, like, I mean, I always remember, because I was horrendous at maths, and my high school teacher told me I never learned the basics properly, which she might have been right, or it's just that my brain doesn't function like that. But if you haven't learned the basics of something properly, you're not going to progress properly to something. Yes, you might be able to do a couple of advanced exercises, but the chances that you're not doing it properly or going to hurt yourself are quite high. So just a little recap for kind of a beginner or foundation phase would be the neural changes and the muscular changes, but most importantly, the habit and the techniques that you're developing. So what I would encourage people that are new to exercise, so in the beginner's block or are new to this type of training that we have at Jeff, just learn to show up consistently. Consistency is so underrated. You don't see long-term lasting change in anything without being consistent. One of my favorite athletes is Eliud Kipchoge. He's the world's fastest man over 42 kilometers and the first human to run under 2 hours for a marathon. 10 years ago, he was absolutely nowhere. He was just another Kenyan running around. But through consistency and persistence and just daily work, he built himself up to be where he is now. And that's a principle that any of us can apply today, but it's actually not benefiting you in the long term. Okay. And then also just with consistency, if you've started off in the program and you're finding that like 5 days or getting to the 4 sessions of HIIT or LIT is too much for your body, there's really no problem with it. It's still teaching you consistency and you're still moving your body. So please don't think that consistency means like 100% sticking to exactly what's been given to you on a piece of paper. There is no issue for like small little changes in accommodation as long as you're moving. Cool. Jane, I see that some other people have joined. Hello, Amy and Tash. Good that you guys have joined. And Beverly. I hope that you're doing well and that you enjoyed your challenges. Beverly is an old client of mine who absolutely smashed her one-on-one program and then went on to do some challenges. Okay. And then, so just, it is really, really good to stick to a structured program. Whether you on the one-on-one for the strength or the fitness or the running, any program that you're doing, it's been structured to progress you properly. If you're going to kind of do your own thing and pick and choose from wherever, you're not going to see the results that you want. You're probably going to plateau and you're going to get frustrated. There is a lot of method behind Jono's madness and how he puts everything together, and also how all the classes are actually given. So any of the Jeff Together classes. There's a reason that some classes are easier than others, and there's also a reason why 3 days in a row we might try kill you. It's just different stimuluses are going to get you to better results, and that I will go into a bit more detail a little bit later. And then another thing that you want to do when you're in the beginning phase of an exercise plan, and I'm sure a lot of you have picked this up now, is that we want you to move your body in different planes of motion. So what that basically means is like forward and backwards movements, going sideways, different arms twisting. Your body is designed to move in different ways. And what happens when we don't do that, so take running for example, we're just moving in one plane of motion the whole time, which is forwards. You develop muscle imbalances, and that leads to injuries. So that's why it's so important to just do different types of exercises, which is why the lit and HIIT classes and Pilates and yoga are absolutely perfect, because you are using lots of different parts of your body in any given session. So if anyone has any questions, please put them up. Okay. So once you are through your beginner phase, which is generally, if you're brand new to exercise, 4 to 16 weeks. It's very difficult to give an exact time frame because each person is very, very different in how their body responds, and also what they may start an exercise program off with. So if it's injuries, a certain medical condition. So always think 4 to 16 weeks. That has a lot to do with the physiological adaptations, which I'll go into a bit later, but also the habits that we want to form do take that amount of time. Okay, so once you've gone from a beginner, you would move to an intermediate. Intermediate, just a very easy way to look at it, is that your body has actually started to adapt to the exercise. You're not as stiff as you used to be. You can actually walk down the stairs after doing a leg workout. You can dress yourself without having to scream in pain because your shoulders are so stiff. So it's a very simple way of looking at it, but it is actually your body telling you that it's ready now for more stimulus. So that would either be the frequency that you're exercising at, the intensity, the amount of time that you're exercising. So always good to be in tune with your body and listen to what it's telling you, for good and bad. Okay. So once your body says, yay, I'm happy, not so stiff anymore, doing burpees a little bit better, can do a few more crunches, or my squat form is better, then it's time that it needs a little bit more stress and stimulus, which the stimulus is the exercise that you're giving it. So that would be maybe adding an extra class in. If you want on the one-on-one program, that would mean that you're now working a little bit harder with a little bit rest. There's more advanced exercises in there for you, and some of the sessions are longer. If you don't give your body the extra stimulus that it needs, you're going to completely plateau. It needs that stress of the different type of exercises or the load that you're giving it to continue to adapt. Okay, but again, on the flip side, if you're doing too much, you're also going to plateau, but that's something that I'll get into a little bit later. Okay, so in the intermediate phase, you've developed a capacity to deliver more, and that's that you can train more. Okay, so the easiest way is, as I said earlier, just to listen to your body. If things are starting to feel easy, then it's time to progress. If you're with a coach, you chat with your coach, and they can easily kind of ask you a few questions to see where you're at. Okay, but now that we're adding more exercise in, stressing our body a bit more, recovery becomes incredibly important, because without recovery, the physiological adaptations cannot take place. So you either start to get injured, you don't see results, you can actually land up putting on weight, and also your chances of getting sick become higher. Never ever ignore recovery. Listen to your body and use those rest days that are built in. Without recovery, your adaptations are not going to take place. So you're not going to get stronger, you're not going to get fitter, and you're actually just going to be wasting your time and probably doing more damage to your body in the long run. Okay. Also in your intermediate phase, so you can actually break intermediate up into almost a beginner intermediate and an advanced intermediate. Once you start moving towards the end of an intermediate phase, you can start adding resistance. So whether that's in the form of bands, I mean, you can start off with a light band, finish off with heavier ones, adding weights in. If you're on the running program, you'd start increasing like the mileage that you're at and the amount of quality work you're doing. So quality would be like your hill sprints or 400-meter sprints, 800-meter sprints, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that added resistance again is just an extra stimulus for your body. So that again just aids in the adaptations that we want to take place, and also it makes the exercises more interesting. Not so boring when you start adding in some fun things. Okay. Then again, I just want to reiterate, we need to remember that there's smaller blocks built into our whole training or fitness journey. Sometimes we just look at like the end goal and we're like, this is where we want to be, instead of looking like this week block, like this is actually what my training program is aiming to do, or this is what I'm aiming to do. And then the next week looking like that, okay? It's also why any properly constructed training program is broken down into smaller training blocks with rest built in, and then over a period of time, whether that's weeks, months, or years, would constitute your whole training program. For those of you on the running program, you've probably noticed that you'll have 2 quite intense weeks, and then there's an easier week. That easier one is your recovery, and that also those 2 intense weeks, there's a specific concentration for that. So whether it's more concentrated on speed or the endurance, okay? So it's also just why, yeah, always better to get a professional's opinion on a training program. Unless you're really knowledgeable, you can write up your own, but otherwise you tend to just, I mean, you're not wasting your time because you're still exercising, but you're not going to get the benefits that you need. Okay, so basically when you're at an intermediate level, just to summarize, you have a higher work capacity, so you can do more in a session or more sessions. Your body tolerates more, so it's going to tolerate more impact, or more exercise, basically. You've got a really good base level of strength, and your muscles have adapted nicely, and you also have improved form. Having good form is incredibly important to get the main benefits and also to avoid injury. Okay, now for the advanced level, so depending what training you're doing, what sport you're involved in, the majority of us are actually going to stay in an intermediate phase. Okay, advanced phase is when those really, really small changes take place, because you've already done the big changes and advancements. So progress is slower, but it's incredibly rewarding when you see that progress. So, I mean, that can be that you finally managed to drop those last 500 grams that you wanted to, or you're able to do a full all 5 sets of burpees that you wanted to. I mean, if you're a runner, that can be either the minute that you wanted to take off your marathon time, or literally a millisecond if you're a sprinter. So it's really, really small gains, but they're really, really great when you hit them, okay? So most of us would kind of stay in an intermediate phase, which is not a problem at all, okay? Then again, in the advanced phase, recovery is incredibly important because you're putting your body under a lot of stress and a lot of load, okay? This is also when, like, being fit, training has become a really authentic passion for you, like it's ingrained in your life. It's something that you look forward to every day, but you also look forward to your recovery days. Okay, so it's not just about 7 days a week trying to do 2 to 3 sessions. Okay, so one way to look at being kind of in an advanced training phase is that the process is the goal, and the goal is also the process. Okay, so the habit is really ingrained. It's part of your lifestyle. It's something that you absolutely love doing. We also tend to train smarter when you hit the advanced level, because you know what your body responds to, you know what it needs. You also know when to back off because you've learned to listen to your body. Okay, so it's a great place to be when you actually understand what your body's telling you and that you respect it and you listen to it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, advanced, I'm not saying that it's not something that no one can ever get to, but it is, yeah, it's like kind of the top level where you want to be. Okay. Then, so I just want to see if there are any questions. Yes, Kim, recovery is critical, absolutely critical. Okay. Then just with some of the physiological adaptations, not going to go too in depth with it because it has been covered in other Jeff Eds and we can always do another one on it. If we should be in beginner and pop straight into intermediate, I can tell you now, you're going to get injured. Your body's not used to the load of whether it's high impact training or low impact training. Low impact, you're still loading your joints, you're still loading the muscles. So if you want to come in brand new and try to do 1,000 squats, 100 burpees, something's going to give, okay? And then again, you're not going to see the results from it. So you need the foundation phase, the building blocks to allow the adaptations to take place. So just very simply, it would be like your bone structure can start handling more load without having to worry about stress fractures. Your hormones are actually functioning better and releasing timing-wise better to help strengthen the bones, because you're going to release growth hormone when you start training. Any form of training, you will release growth hormone. Your muscles will adapt. So depending on the type of training you're going to be doing, so with what we're doing, it will generally be fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. They start to develop and strengthen. Your tendons and ligaments also start to strengthen. So they actually grow in like a cross-sectional way. So they just become nice and strong. And that's again because they're starting to handle more load. So, and then the same would be once you move into intermediate. If your body's adapted nicely, your bones are handling stress well, your muscles are handling stress well. If you're now going to try load them too much, the same thing is going to happen. You're going to get injured. Okay, so that is probably the primary reason why you need to kind of figure out quite early on what level you should be at. Rather start off on a lower level. You'll know pretty soon, like within a week or two, if it's too easy for your body or not. Okay, and then also if you're going to do too much too soon, you're going to release too much cortisol and too much like stress hormones. And then that can just lead to a plateau. It can lead to burnout and also just to getting sick. So, I mean, this is something to consider if you're doing a hang of a lot of training, but just always something nice to keep in the back of your mind. Okay. So Rem, I hope that's all made sense. Does anyone have any questions, or maybe you aren't sure where you should be starting or how to actually progress yourself from one level to the next? If anyone has any questions, you can pop them into the chat, but also you're more than welcome to pop me a DM afterwards, and I'll happily answer for you. Just checking if there is anything. Okay, doesn't seem to be any questions. But yeah, I just want to reiterate what Kim has said about recovery. It's very underrated. I think any person, it doesn't matter what level of exercise you're on, it's so critically important to the entire functioning of your body, but also your mental well-being. Like if you do need that mental break during the week from your sessions, and your body definitely needs it. Okay. Because I think, the majority of our clients are women. So if you're not getting enough recovery in, it's going to cause quite a big disruption in your hormonal balance, which kind of has the opposite effect of what we're trying to achieve. So please never ignore it. And also some weeks you might feel that you need more than others, and you're not being lazy. If you give yourself that extra rest day, absolutely not being lazy at all. Your body will thank it, and you'll actually get better results in the long run. Okay, guys, we are almost out of time, but please, pop me, you can pop me a DM about anything that we discussed today, but also if you'd like more kind of insight into the physiology side, you're more than welcome to pop me a message and we can chat about it. So just wishing you all a great rest of the day and week. Okay, Shona, so always work on around 2 days of recovery. One can be active recovery, so something like yoga or the flow sessions or a walk. If you like swimming, a gentle swim, or just aim for something like non-impact. And then always try one complete rest day. So one active day, active rest is fine, but definitely one complete rest day in the intermediate phase, and then also in the advanced phase would be the same. So I hope that answers your question, Shona. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, and yeah, I look forward to getting some more questions from everyone. Bye.